All right, so we are going to get started with our DocuSign training. So I've already created an opportunity just for time's sake, but that is where everything is going to start for you in a transaction. So to go to your opportunities, click on opportunities over here in the left-hand side where the hands are shaking. I'm going to select all opportunities because for me, I like the way I can see all my opportunities listed out here. And I'll scroll down, and this is the opportunity that I created for today's training. So it's 4321 Main Street. I've added the opportunity name, the clients here, my contact, Tony Stark, and then Pepper Potts are my clients for this listing. So today I'm going to walk through a listing because I want to show you the community association disclosure and seller's property disclosure as well, because those are two very important documents, and they have kind of caused the most hiccups for agents as they are preparing for new listings. So once you have all of your details information set up for your opportunity, you want to click on the Documents tab. And over here in the right-hand side, you can see this big button that says Start a Transaction. This is where you're going to click to start your DocuSign room. If you have .loop connected as well, when you click on it, there'll be a drop down with either DocuSign or .loop. Make sure you select DocuSign. Two important things to keep in mind here. In order for your DocuSign rooms and Command to be connected, you have to start the transaction from within Command. If you start a room from DocuSign.com, you will never be able to connect that room to your opportunity, and therefore you will lose the ability to add documents directly into Command. So then you'll be stuck having to download things and then upload them directly into Command, which may be fine for you, but it does get, it removes the main functionality of the Command DocuSign integration. And the second thing to keep in mind is if you start a transaction or have started a transaction from within Command in .loop, you will not be able to switch to DocuSign halfway through. That means that moving forward from tomorrow morning on, when you have to get a new document signed for your contract, an amendment, an extension, anything that needs to be signed, you will have to get that signed in DocuSign, then download that to your computer, and then upload it into your opportunity and submit for compliance review. So yeah, those are the two most important things. Always start a transaction from within Command, and once you start a transaction in .loop, you can't switch it to DocuSign. So I'm going to click on Start a Transaction, and it's going to open up DocuSign in a new browser window. All right. I've been having some trouble with this the last few days. I don't know why. Things have been weird with Command. So I'm going to click on Start a Transaction again, and hopefully this time it works. I had to do it twice yesterday. Okay, it is not working. One of the benefits of live training. Let's try it again. Okay, so now we refresh the page and it says go to transaction. So it makes it seem like it's created a DocuSign room. Let's give it a try. So once you've already set up and started a transaction, the button will change to go to transaction, and I'll click on this. And now DocuSign will open. It'll have you log in. And here we are in our DocuSign room. Up here in the top left-hand corner, we have our info panel, and we can see it's 4321 Main Street Tony Stark listing. That's the same naming convention as what I've named the opportunity, because DocuSign pulls over a fair amount of the information from Command. If this is your first time logging into DocuSign, before you do anything else, I want you to confirm your NRDS number. This is going to validate your membership as a realtor and give you access to the Georgia Association of Realtor documents. They are copywritten, so they just need to make sure that you are a paid member to use those documents. There are two ways to confirm your NRDS number. The first way, and to me the most simple way, is when you first come into DocuSign from Command, it drops you right into the Documents tab of DocuSign. Up here in the right-hand corner, you would click on the Add button and select DocuSign Forms, and a new window will pop up, and you will select the Realtor icon. So I'll select realtor. And then here, it asks for my 9-digit NRDS number. I've only met one agent that knows their number. To find your number, you can click on the Find Your NRDS ID link right here, and this will open up a new browser window where you can search for your number. So I'm going to search with my last name and my real estate license. If you use your last name and email, you may need to switch between your personal email and your KW email, because it's sometimes it's based on the email that you use to sign up with the Atlanta board with. So just try both of them if you have any trouble. So I'll click submit, and here's my NRDS number. So I'll just copy this, so control copy, close that window, paste that there. Now I need to select the association, so the Georgia Association of Realtors. So select this, and I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. And then the Georgia Association of Realtors is like 10 up from the bottom. They're not in alphabetical order, so I don't know why. So I just select Georgia Association of Realtors. I'll click validate, and I've now validated my membership. If this is your very, very first time validating your membership, so I've done this a handful of times, another pop-up screen will be right here, and I'll ask you to accept the terms of the Georgia Association of Realtors. Just click accept, and now you're good to go. You have all your forms, access to all the GAR forms. So I'm just going to click cancel. The second way to confirm your NRDS number, and I'm going to show you just really briefly, is up here in the top right-hand corner. You can click on your image, or it'll have your initials if you haven't set up your account yet. Click on that, select preferences, and then over here in the menu on the left-hand side, select integrations. And if you scroll down just a bit, here it'll ask you for your NRDS ID information. If you don't know it, there is a little link. It should be to the right-hand side where it says find your NRDS number. And you can click that and do the same process I just did. So those are the two places to confirm your NRDS ID. Make sure you do that before you do anything else, because I don't want you to be trying to write a contract. It's 10 o'clock at night, you're in a multiple offer situation, and you can't even get the GAR forms because you haven't confirmed your NRDS ID. So now that we've confirmed that and we have access to all of our forms, I'm going to go back into the room that I just created. Let's click on dashboard. I'll come back to 4321 Main Street, which is the room that I just created for my clients, Tony and Pepper. So this tab here, the details tab, before you start updating or adding any documents or trying to update your purchase and sale agreements, you need to come to your details tab and fill out as much information as possible. All of the information that will be auto-populated in your GAR forms will come from the details tab. If you also do not include your contacts, your client's email address, when you go to send them the document for signature, there won't be an email there and it won't be able to send. So what we're going to do is we're going to update this, double check all the information. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, DocuSign will pull in the information from command. Today, it looks like it did not, probably because I just set up or had issues setting up the room this morning. So I'm going to click edit up here in the top right-hand corner, and I now have access to change anything. So I could rename the room if I wanted to, and then I can scroll down here, select as much information as possible. If you have the MLS ID, you can paste that here. One thing I want to call out is DocuSign does not autofill information or pull in information from FMLS like .loop did. So you will have to go through and manually add your property addresses and information, tax numbers, all of that. So I apologize. It is a slight inconvenience, but it'll be fine, I promise. So since this is a listing, I'm going to type in the address here. So 4321 Main Street, Southeast. This is Atlanta, Fulton, select Georgia, postal code 30342, property type, residential detached, year built. I'm just going to do 2005. Check special circumstances, none, good to go. Listing details, again, fill in as much of this information as possible. Obviously, if you're working on the buyer side, you'll have different information at different times. So when you go to send the buyer brokerage agreement, you won't have any of this information, and that's fine. As you are submitting a purchase and sale agreement, start to fill this out first, and that way it can pull in all the correct information for you. So original listing amount, so 375, current listing amount, 375. Offer date, there are no offers, no bids, no closing details, no additional information. I guess I could list side commission 3%, buyer side commission 3%. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I filled in all the information about the property. I'm going to go to the right-hand side of the page, and I'm going to double check to make sure that all my client information is in here correctly. So on the right-hand side, you can see it says seller 1, and it has all the information to add in their contact information. 9 times out of 10, DocuSign will pull this information in directly from command. It didn't this morning, so I will type it in very quickly. So I'll type in Tony Stark, and then the email address. This is the email that I created for here. You can put their cell phone number in here. Mainly their name and email address are going to be the 2 most important fields to make sure that their name is populated correctly on the documents and that there's an email to send these documents to for signature. So then I'll scroll down, seller number 2. So I'll fill in Pepper Potts. And then I'm going to use my personal email address for hers today when I show you the process of signing. So I'll continue to scroll down. So below seller 2, there's a listing agent. So I'm going to put myself here as listing agent. I'll just fill in all of my information. Usually you won't have to do this. I think it's just because there was that issue with me logging in this morning. Fill it in because I want you to see how it auto-populates and fills everything. City, Atlanta, country, state, postal code 30342. And so I filled in all my information. If you scroll down, we have listing agent 2. So if you have a co-agent on the listing, fill in his or her information down here. And if you keep on scrolling, now you'll get to buyer 1. I want to point this out. So if you are working on a buyer's side transaction and you're the buyer's agent, you're going to have to scroll all the way to the bottom of the page like this, I guess to the middle of the page, and type in your buyer's information. So you have buyer 1 here, so name and email. Scroll down, buyer 2, name and email. Keep scrolling down, and then you'd add yourself as buyer agent 1. Because of the way that this page is laid out, which I don't know why it is, it's very easy to forget that you have to scroll all the way down to find the place to input the information for your buyer. So I just want to call that out so you don't forget it, because if you forget it, it doesn't get added to your documents. There's no one to send signatures to, because everything on the GAR forms are mapped to all the pieces of information and signature fields on the GAR forms are mapped to the information and contacts added here on the details page. So once everything has been added and updated, I have all my seller information, I have my information, all the information about the property. I will click Save down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Perfect. So now we have saved everything. So now let's get to the fun part, which is adding our GAR forms. To find our GAR forms, we're going to click on the Documents tab. And then this is going to be where we add all of the GAR forms. And I know I keep reiterating GAR forms because any of the affiliated marketing, wire fraud prevention, or any of the Keller Williams First Atlanta documents are not going to be found in the Documents tab. Those will be added to our envelope when we send for signature, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. Documents is where you add your GAR forms to make changes and edits to a document. In .loop, we had to organize our documents in folders, And so I know a lot of people are accustomed to having folders in their loops. So if you want to create folders in DocuSign, you can do the same thing. You can come over here to the right-hand side and you can click Actions and you can click Add Folder. And so for this, I may say Listing Agreements and then click Create. So now I have a Listing Agreements folder and then a Room Docs folder. I do want to call out that anytime you upload a document to DocuSign, anytime you receive a signed copy of the document once everyone signed it, it will default into the Room Docs folder, and then you just drag it into the corresponding folder that you wanted in. I also want to point out that Lynn and Alita are not going to look at your rooms, so you don't have to organize them. The only thing that matters for compliance review is uploading those documents into Command. So if you don't want to organize it and you just want to have everything in the Room Docs folder, you can do that, and whatever works best for you in your business. So now I've organized how I want my documents tab set up. Now let's start adding the GAR forms. So to do that, I will click on the Add button in the top right-hand corner and select DocuSign Forms. Now this will load this screen, and you can see we will select at the top, we will leave it on DocuSign Forms Library. And then I'll select the library of Georgia Association of Realtors. I don't know why the Greater Alabama MLS is in there. It is, just ignore it. You will never need it. So I select GAR, and now it will show me every single GAR form in DocuSign, every single one. And the reason I highlight that is because when you go to search for your document, so let's say we want to do seller's property disclosure, I now have 4 options to choose from. So it shows you every commercial option, condominium option, land lot option. So I recommend that as you start to play around with DocuSign, start to memorize the form number IDs for the documents you use most regularly. So for here, for seller's property disclosure, F301, I'm going to do the community association disclosure. So I'll select that. Now I also want the listing agreement. So exclusive seller listing agreement. And then for today's example, I'm also going to add in the purchase and sale agreement. I understand that traditionally that's going to come first from the buyer side, but just to get you familiar with the purchase and sale agreement, since that's probably going to be one of the most important documents you use, I just want to show you for example today. So you can type in purchase and sale, and there's a lot of documents that come up. So this is when I would say F201 to make sure I get the right form. So once I've selected all the forms I want, I have 4 forms selected. Click Add. I recommend you add all the forms you need at one time, or all the forms you're going to be using that day. Sometimes DocuSign can get a little bit slow. It's gotten better. So just to kind of minimize that wait time of the forms loading, recommend that you add them all at the same time. So I'll click Add. The page will reload, and you can see everything is now in my Documents tab, and it defaulted into the Room Docs folder. If you want to move documents, you can easily just put your mouse over it, click on it, and drag it up to the folder that you want, and it will move it. So I'll do the same thing for the listing agreement. I'll do the same thing for the seller's property disclosure. So now I have all my listing agreement forms in my listing agreement folder. So now is the fun part. Let's start updating our documents. To do that, just click on the document and it'll open up a new tab. And now we can start to update it. And you'll see it did start to auto-populate the information that was filled in on the Details tab. So you can see there's a property address of 4321 Main Street, Atlanta, Fulton. And then I'll just go through the document and fill in the information as I would. I do want to clarify, this is not a class on how to fill out GAR forms. This is just how to use the functionality of DocuSign. So I'm just going to put in just a bunch of information very quickly, but I just want to show you how you add it and how easy it is. So for the listing period, I will just type in today's date, so 6/5/2020. There is not a calendar functionality in DocuSign like there was in .lube, so you do have to manually add in your dates here. It'll say broker's list price. It'll populate that from the details tab. The seller does have the right to negotiate. Marketing. Just quickly adding in information here. And then you can see here, the seller will need to update this to 6%. Broker pays co-op agent 3. Again, all this is negotiable based on the conversations you have with your client. I'm just putting in information for example's sake. So protected period, independent contractor, dual agency, sub-agency. Now I want to point out here at the bottom of the first page of the listing agreement, it says this form is copyrighted and may only be used in real estate transactions in which blank is involved as a real estate licensee. Your name as the agent needs to go here. And I will show you in the envelope how to add that. I just want to point it out to you that DocuSign, when they were updating our GAR forms, didn't map our name to that field. So just be mindful of that as you are updating your documents. So I have a question here. Can you write, justify, center, justify text in boxes? Unfortunately, no. We are unable to adjust the text in DocuSign like we could in .lube. So continuing through the listing agreement, check any of the boxes here. Scrolling down. Keep on scrolling. You would select any of the brochures that you're going to send. All the brochures are loaded in DocuSign, so you can search for them and add them. That would be creating a folder for brochures would be a smart thing to do to keep them out of the documents that you're going to be sending. And then we have our special stipulations here, so you can add whatever stipulations you want, and it really is as easy as just typing in here. If I can spell correctly. More if you like. One thing I really like about DocuSign versus .lube is that you can't delete any of these text boxes. So there are so many times in DocuSign that I would be typing and misspell something and I need to go back and I would accidentally hit Shift Delete and it would delete the whole text box. So then I'd have to go through and add the text box, resize it, format it, do all that. You don't have to worry about that in DocuSign. It'll never delete. So you don't have to worry about that. So then I'll come down here. You can see it adds my sellers' names and their email addresses. And I'll come down here. It's loaded most of my information, but not everything. We are working with DocuSign to have them update the mapping fields for these boxes. So that way, every single time it will add your license number and the MLS office code and all of that. But in the meantime, fill it in to make sure it's compliant. Save yourself and Alita the hassle of having to give you a note that you need to add in some phone numbers or anything. So then type in information. All right. And the nice thing here is you can also tab from field to field. So I can just tab in here, 531-5700, tab over to the fax number. Perfect. So now I have all the information added here. Once it's been updated, you can click Save and Close. And now all that information will be saved and it'll be ready to be sent out in just a few moments. But before we send anything, I want to walk you through the other documents first. So seller's property disclosure and the community association disclosure. Those are two unique documents because those are documents that our clients fill out. So we have very limited editing capabilities in DocuSign because most of those fields are mapped for our clients. And I'll show you that now. So I'm going to open up the seller's property disclosure and you'll be able to see that some of that information was preloaded in from our details tab. So you can see here, we have our property address filled in. The only places that we're able to edit is here where it says exhibit number and an offer date. But since we're just about to go live on the listing, we don't know any of that information. But if you scroll down, you see all these fields here. You can't edit them. There's nothing, you can't click on anything, you can't do anything. And that is purposeful because we as the agent are not supposed to touch these documents and not supposed to fill them out. All of these fields are mapped for your seller one to fill in. So I'm just going to double check and make sure that the information was pre-populated at the top. There isn't anything at the bottom I need to edit. Perfect. Save and close. Good to go there with the seller's property disclosure. And it'll be the same with the community association disclosure, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So here we go. I'll click on community association. Again, it pre-populates our address. And then all these fields here are all blank. I can't do anything to them. I've gotten a handful of calls from agents saying, I can't change the community association disclosure. Something's wrong. I can't send this to my client. And I have to let them know, no, it's right, because we're not supposed to fill that information in. We are not responsible for any of that information. And this is a great way that DocuSign helps protect you to make sure that you don't try to do your client a favor and fill it in for them. So just hit save and close. So I have my 3 listing agreements set up. Now I want to walk through the purchase and sale agreement because this is going to be probably the most popularly used document in DocuSign. So I want to show you, just walk you through that process of updating it. It's very simple, very similar to what we did for the listing agreement. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to load. And it starts to pull in the information from the details tab. With everything in DocuSign, just start at the top and work your way down. So we'll start with the offer date. So we'll click, just type in here and start typing, let's do 6/5/2020, so today's date. And then I would just fill in. I love deed book and page. It just works well for me. It's simple. But whatever legal description you use, purchase price, we'll submit an offer for $365. And closing costs, we'll ask for $5,000. And I'm just tabbing along here. So closing date, let's make this 6/30/2020. We'll have possession of property, holder of earnest money, KWFA, closing attorney, Campbell and Brannon. So you see here, it's really simple. It's the same process as .loop, of just going through and filling in all of the fields that you need to fill in. And like I said before, this is not a class on how to fill in these forms properly. It is just a class on how to use these forms in DocuSign. So I'm the listing broker. So you can see it adds Keller Williams First Atlanta. It includes my name here, but since I'm not designated agent, it's fine. If you want to, you can type in who the selling broker will be. So let's say the buyer's agent is just from Harry Norman. You can type that in. Now, one thing that's really interesting about DocuSign is that if you add or edit any of the fields that are pre-mapped, so here the selling broker fee, our selling broker name is mapped to that details page. So now that I've typed in Harry Norman on the purchase and sale agreement, it's going to add Harry Norman to the details tab. So then any subsequent documents that I add to this room that are mapped to the selling agent's broker name, it'll automatically add Harry Norman. The same thing goes for if let's say the pre-populated address at the top up here, let's say it's 4321 Main Street Southeast, but I accidentally I come in here and I type in 43215, that will change everything in DocuSign to the address of 43215. So be mindful of editing, adding, and deleting information. And more on that in just a moment. So I'm just going to finish filling out this document. So 5 p.m. on 6/6/2020. Again, just pointing out here that our name is needed at the bottom of the first page of this form. So just keep scrolling, scrolling. All right, and come up here, seller's property disclosure. We can make this Exhibit A. Community association disclosure, make that Exhibit B. And type in your steps as our stipulation 1. Do what we ask to make closing easy. Perfect. Type in as many steps as you want. Just type them in and you're good to go. And then we'll scroll down. And you can see over here, DocuSign adds our client's name here. So seller 1, Tony Stark, and his email address, and then Pepper Potts and her email address. Now, like I just said a moment ago, if you change or edit or delete anything from a pre-mapped field, it changes that on the details tab for everything in your room. So do not delete your client's email off the purchase and sale agreement. I, in .loop, deleted my client's email addresses because I don't want my co-op agent having my client's contact information. Most agents out there are going to be great to work with, and they're going to respect your relationship and your buyer brokerage agreement. But there's always a chance that agent will not respect that relationship and could try to go around you. So I understand your concerns of having your client's contact information on any document that goes to the co-op agent. I will show you in the envelope how we can hide that. I've talked with Hutch and brought up to him a handful of times about having DocuSign removing the mapping field for the purchase and sale agreement and co-op documents, so that way we don't have to worry about deleting our client's email address out of the details tab. So leave it here for now, and I will show you how to hide it so that way your clients are protected. So I'll scroll down. Again, just fill in the rest of this information here. So your license number, Atlanta. And again, I've mentioned to Hutch at the region being able to get these fields mapped in, because in our profile, they don't have the MLS office code and brokerage firm license number and our Georgia license number in there. So trying to figure out how we can get those to be auto-populated on every document, because it's going to be the same every single time. So once you have filled in all the information for your purchase and sale, your purchase price, closing dates, details, stipulations, you've double checked all of your information is correct, click Save and Close. All right. So now we've added all of our documents that we want to send out to signature to our clients. I do want to stop really quickly and just ask, are there any questions so far? I've gone through a lot of information, and I want to make sure if there's any questions you have, that I can take a moment to answer those. All right, I'll keep on going. Again, please feel free to let me know what questions you have. I want to make sure that this is as helpful as possible for you.
Hey, Nicholas.
Yeah.
This is Julia. So this is not really directly related. So I transferred files via PDF, uploaded them in Command. I started a transaction. I think that then later caused an email to be sent to me that was envelope, I believe. So anyway, I'm needing the basic. I know it created it emailed me a DocuSign room. Yes, that's what it was. So that's where I'm at. That's pretty basic. So I missed how this is all going to marry, how they're related.
So we haven't gotten to how they marry yet, because right now we're just going through the process of getting all the documents together. Then once we have our signed documents, I'll show you at the end of this class how DocuSign and Command are linked to get the benefit of having the two systems together.
Okay, so for today's deadline purposes, I just need to be sure to have everything that I find of value that's currently in all my loops in PDF forms and created under new contacts and opportunities. And then that makes me good to go for today's deadline. Is that correct?
Correct. And I'd be happy to talk more with you about getting everything out of .loop after this class, because I really want to focus
Sure.
on DocuSign, so that way everyone can write their contracts this weekend.
Sure, absolutely.
But feel free to reach out afterwards and we can set up some time to talk.
Okay, thank you for that.
Perfect. Question from Mark, will you show us at some point how to add the KWFA documents to our rooms? Absolutely, and I'm gonna do it in just a minute.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? This is Shannon Grandison. I have one question.
Yeah.
And maybe I missed it. I know at the bottom of the purchase and sales agreement and the forms where we have to put our name at the very bottom of the form. You're getting ready to show us where to put that, right? Because I know you can't do it from there. Okay, got it.
So
I was hoping I didn't miss it.
No, not yet. So you're unable to add text boxes to
Correct.
forms in the documents tab, but I'll show you how to do that in the envelope before we send.
Sounds good. Okay.
Perfect. All right. So now that we have all of our documents updated, now we're going to prepare them to send for signature. And to do that, we create an envelope. And the way Michael New explained it to me, and I think it's really helpful, is that he said, think of an envelope like a manila envelope, that you are going to put your documents that you've prepared in that envelope. You're going to set it on your desk until you see your client, and then you're going to hand that envelope to your client and say, hey, please sign these. It really is just a vehicle to get the documents to your clients. There are two ways that you can create envelopes. The first way is when you're in the Documents tab, you can roll your mouse over the document and the circle appears in the top left-hand corner and you can click on it. When you do that, a toolbar at the top appears. So you can click all the documents that you want to create an envelope for, and you can come over the toolbar and then you can select DocuSign. And if you select DocuSign, it'll take you right into an envelope. The other way is if you go to the Envelopes tab, click on this. So now we're in Envelopes, and click on New in the top right-hand corner. And this will now create our envelope for us. And we'll just go through the steps. It's going to be the same process whether you create it the first way or the second way. So we'll start at the top and work our way down. So our envelope name. So I recommend naming your envelope very relevant to the documents you're sending, because you will be sending multiple envelopes throughout the transaction. So for this is going to be our listing agreements and purchase and sale. And then another time you may just be sending offer. Another time you may be saying you're sending your amendment to address concerns, and then maybe amendment 2. And by naming your envelope someone you can easily keep track of, it's going to be easier for you to go back and find any information about those documents when they were signed. And if you need to update anything, it's easier to keep track of. So now we've named our envelope. Now we add our documents to the envelope. The first button here is Room Docs, and this is going to be the button you click to add the documents that we've created in the Documents tab of our room. So to add those, click on Room Docs, and this is going to show you a list of every single document that's in the room. And as you start to get more documents in the room, you get more signed documents, this list will grow. So you just need to be mindful that you pay attention to the name of the document so you're adding the correct one. So I will click Add Selected, and that will load those documents into this envelope. We'll just give that a second. Those are taking their time loading today. Okay, well, while those are loading, now we want to add the First Atlanta Affiliated Marketing and Wire Fraud Prevention documents. Those are templates that have been shared with us from the MCA office. To add those into your envelope, click this button here, use a template, and then over here on the left, click Shared with Me. And now this is going to show a list of all the shared templates that we have access to. And you'll see here we have affiliated marketing and wire fraud, but it's labeled buyer. And if you scroll down, we have a seller version of the same documents. It is very important that you select the version of the wire fraud and affiliated marketing disclosures based on the side of the transaction you are working, because these signature fields are mapped accordingly. So for the seller version, it's going to be mapped to seller 1 and seller 2. If I were to accidentally add the buyer version for my listing room, there wouldn't be anywhere for my clients to sign. So just double check and make sure that you add the correct one. Also, we have our pay at close in here, W-9, wire fraud. You don't use the seller's property disclosure in here. So yeah, so once you add in your affiliated marketing and wire fraud, click add selected. So we'll give that a second to add those templates. The reason the wire fraud and affiliated marketing are templates and not documents is because there isn't any information or any fields on those documents for you to fill in or change. They are simply meant for signature. So it's easiest if within the DocuSign system to just add them as templates. It adds it right to the envelope and you just hit send. Now, before we go into the next part, we want to reorganize the order of these documents for our sellers to sign. We want them to sign the listing agreement first, then the seller's property disclosure, and then the community association, and then our disclosures. So let's reorganize them. So to do that, move your mouse over the document, click on it, hold your finger down on the mouse, and drag it to the position that you want. So I'll just move that over there. So now I have the seller's property disclosure first. Then I want the seller's listing agreement first. Now I have my seller's property disclosure, community association. I want affiliated marketing to be next. So I'll just move that into that position. And then I want wire fraud. So, and then my purchase and sale last. You have to reorder the documents in this portion of the envelope because you will not be able to reorder them once you go to the next screen where you double check for signatures. So make sure they're in the correct order that you want them here. And if you need to add any more documents, you can add documents here. You can also add documents. So if you have to upload a PDF that you just need to add a signature for, you can click on more here and you can upload that from your computer. All right. Now our next step is to add recipients. So click on the add recipient button and the drop down and select pre-tagged roles. It is very, 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 very important that you select pre-tagged roles because all of the fields for signature and for completion are mapped to pre-tagged roles. So if you don't select pre-tagged roles, your seller won't be able to fill in the seller's property disclosure. So I'll select pre-tagged roles. And from here, I will come to my clients that I'm working with. So seller 1, from the drop down, I'll select Tony Stark. Seller 2, I'll select Pepper Potts. Listing agent, I'll select myself. And you'll notice I'm in here twice, and you will be too, because for every single room in DocuSign, you'll be added as an agent owner of the room. So you own this room, but then I've also added myself as a listing agent on the details tab. So select either one, it doesn't matter. You can see here the list of documents. This is a list of all the documents that have places for this individual to sign. So you can see for me, as a listing agent, I only sign the listing agreement, but for sellers 2 and 1, they have all these documents. It doesn't mean anything, you're good to go. One thing to keep in mind here is do not add the listing broker or buyer broker. You do not need to add First Atlanta for anything to sign here. If you do add a broker, it'll end up causing the document to stall and will not be completed, so you'll never have a completed signed document. So just include your clients and yourself, no one else. And then when you're selected the right people, click Add Selected, and it will load those contacts as a recipient. Just give it a second. Perfect. There we go. Now, on the left-hand side, to each one of the contact names, you can see a box and it each says 1 in it. This is where you can update the signing order of your documents. Some agents want to sign the documents before they send it to their clients. Some agents want to sign after their clients. Some clients want to sign before or after their other buyer or seller. This is where you reorder them. So if you wanted to, you can set Tony Stark as signer number 1. Pepper Potts, I can make signer number 2. Hit enter. And you can see now it has me as 1, and I'll make myself as signer number 3. Click enter. So the way this works is that Tony will receive an email first, and he will have the opportunity to fill in and sign everything. Only once he has signed everything and hit finished will Pepper receive an email from DocuSign saying, it's now your turn to review and sign documents. And only once Pepper signs will I receive an email as the agent to review and sign. Oh, that was interesting. Some lightning and the power just flickered. So inside the contact box, you see this drop down where it says need to sign. Here you can select some additional permissions. So it's going to default to needs to sign, but you do have the option of needs to view, need to receive a copy, and specify recipient. 9 times out of 10, you're going to leave it on needs to. Okay. Let me mute everybody. Participants, mute all. All right. So when you're in the envelope.
Nick.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can see you. I can't see you. Can anyone else?
Can you see my screen?
Gosh,
Yeah, I can see it fine.
Huh.
All right, let me unshare.
I can't see it. Some people can and some people can't looking at the messages.
So let me share screen, share Chrome. I just reshared it. Are you able to see it now?
Are you watching it on your phone or are you watching it on something else?
I'm watching it on my phone, but that's okay, Nick. You can still go through because I've already been through the class before. I was just getting a refresher.
Just swipe left until you see the speaker's screen. It's probably the leftmost screen showing. It's probably showing my face right now. And I'll shut up. Thanks, Nick.
All right, thanks, Jim. All right, so picking back up where I left off, within each one of the recipient boxes, they have the needs to sign capability. If you click on that, there's also needs to view and receive a copy and specify recipient. 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to just leave it on needs to sign. But let's say if you're working with a young buyer or seller and their parent wants to be heavily involved, you can always include needs to view, only if your client has requested, hey, you can also send a copy of all these documents to my mom or dad if they want to review them. Something you can do. Then to the right of that, there's a button that says more. If you click on this, you have the ability to add an access authentication code. And this is to be used, let's say if your client wants an extra level of security, they don't feel comfortable just clicking on review documents in their inbox. They want to make sure that no one can hack into their email to sign an offer for them. Let me just close this out. All right. You can update an authentication code, so you can just type in a code here, and you will need to give that to them and say, hey, Tony, you need to type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in order to have access to the documents. And then also, you can add in a private message, and this will be really helpful. Like for Tony, I'm going to say, please be sure to fill in all of the information. Why can I not spell today? Information for the seller's property disclosure and community association disclosure. So only Tony will receive that message because he's going to be the only one that has access to fill that in. All right. So I've added my recipients. updated the signing order, I've added a private message. If for whatever reason you want to remove a recipient, just roll your mouse over the box and then click the X on the right there. Now we'll scroll down to the email. So please DocuSign, and I'll do the address 4321 Main Street Southeast, listing agreements and purchase and sale. And just a quick message, please review and sign. Thank you, Nick. All right, so once you've filled in all this information, you have all your documents loaded, you click on next. And this is going to take us into the screen where we can start to edit and add signature fields. If we need to add any text fields, we can. One thing I want to point out about DocuSign versus .loop is that .loop was just as much an e-signature platform as it was a document editor. DocuSign is set up to be an e-signature platform only. They don't want us to have the capability to make a lot of edits and changes to the documents. So our capabilities are much more limited. I want to point that out. So that way, if, you know, in the past in .loop, you could just like add a text field over something and type in the text, save as PDF, and it would look like that was the originally signed document. We don't have that same capability in DocuSign. So looking at the screen, first things first, up here in the top left-hand corner, you can see it has my client's name with a yellow circle. If I click on the drop-down, you can see it has Pepper Potts, seller number 2 as blue, and myself as purple. If you click on the different names, you can see how all the field icons here change to blue. If I click on myself, change to purple. And that's to signify any of the signing fields or text boxes within these documents that are already pre-mapped or that I add to help distinguish who they are mapped to. So I will know as I'm looking through all these documents that all of the purple fields are mapped to myself and all the yellow fields are mapped to Tony and all the blue are mapped to Pepper. So what we'll do is we'll just scroll through the documents, make sure that all the signature fields are added correctly, add any that are missing, and there probably will be a few, and add any additional information like our name at the bottom of the documents. So here's our main document. Here's all the standard fields. So you can see you click here to add signature, initial, name, company, email, text, checkbox, drop-down, radio, all that information. Here's our main document. And then over on the right, we have thumbnails. So we can just quickly breeze through the documents since a lot of them are very long. Over here on the thumbnail, you can see these little tabs. That is to let you know that on this page, each one of these colors has a place to sign or add information. It's just another way to double check for you as you're going through the tab or the thumbnails to make sure you're not missing any information. So on the bottom of the first page of the listing agreement, I had mentioned to you we need to add our name down here in the copyright box. So to do that, I'll select myself up here, and then I will click on the name field. Just click on it, then move your mouse, bring it over here, and drop it down. Now you can see here it says full name, but when I go to sign, it will add Nicholas Core, and it'll add that to the document and be included with signatures. So I'm gonna click on the final page here. So we have our signing fields. I'm just gonna move the signing boxes so they're aligned with the line. I don't know why they moved, but they did. So I'll scroll down here, make sure everything's good to go. I'll fix my signing box. Perfect. With the exclusive listing agreement, I'm gonna be the third signer. So what I can do is I can actually make this document sign or binding, because one of the great things about DocuSign is that once all the parties have signed it, it automatically sends out copies to everyone that just signed it. So with .loop in the past, you'd have to go through, make a PDF, add some text boxes, and then make it binding. But I can go ahead and I can do that now by adding a date sign box right here. And I'm affiliating this box with me because I'm going to be the final person to sign it. And then I can add a text box here, and then I'll just format that to fit. And then I'll add another text box right here. And I'll format that. And you'll see when I am clicked on this field, I have a little menu over here on the right-hand side. It lets me know that the recipient that it's affiliated to is myself. It says it's required. So when I go to sign this document and DocuSign goes from one required field to the next required field, it's going to make me stop and fill in these boxes. So when I sign it, I'll be able to add in the time and the AM or PM of the time of signature right here. So then when it's signed and it goes out to everyone, it's already binding. So, and to click out of the text boxes, just click into the document. So we are good with the seller's property disclosure, or sorry, with the listing agreement. Now we'll just scroll through into the seller's property disclosure. And now you can see here, all these fields are mapped yellow because yellow is our seller number one. So seller number one has the ability to fill in all this information. Now I'm going to click on this text field because I want to show you that over here in the menu, this field, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. It's Jim Martell. On adding those boxes and then assigning them to be signed when you are the last signer,
Yep.
How is it not potentially, how can that not be potentially abused by somebody, say, putting such a box in the special stipulations thing and then adding something after everybody else has signed it?
Well, I mean, it would be the same. It's going to be the same as it was in .loop. And I'm only going to show, I only showed you how to do that on the listing agreement. I'm not going to show you how to do that on the purchase and sale agreement, since that's going to go back and forth. But only because the listing agreement, I'm the last person to sign. Is it then okay? I would recommend that for any other document moving forward, purchase and sale, and especially when you're negotiating special stips, that you track that process the same as you would have previously in .loop. You cross any old information out, you add initials where needed, and then the last person to sign then makes it binding. So let's say, Jim, you're going back and forth with the buyer's agent, and then you finally come to an agreement and they send over an updated purchase and sale. They sign it, and then your seller's like, all right, we're good to go with this offer. You send it to them to sign, and then you're going to be the last person to sign it. You can add these boxes, these text boxes, so when you do go to sign, you can make it binding right there. And that will prevent you from having to resend it, add the change, add initials to make it binding. Does that make sense and answer your question?
I don't think it actually answers what I'm talking about. If you were in a purchase and sale agreement or a counteroffer form or something else, and you added a text box, I guess, into the special stipulations section,
yep,
and assigned it to yourself, and then went on to the signature page and did everything that you just did, including the little binding boxes there, sent it over for signatures, got the form back, went to sign it yourself. But since you have power over this box, like, would it not erase the signatures that were, it sounds like it wouldn't erase the signatures that are already there, which means that you could abuse that.
That is, yes, that is correct. And that is an ethics question.
I understand, but
yeah. So from a functionality perspective, no, I could not prevent an agent from doing something like that. But based on all the ethics classes that we took and the oath that we took as realtors, that would be what prevents people from doing that.
Hopefully.
Yeah. All right. So now going back into the seller's property disclosure, scrolling down, you can see how all these fields are mapped yellow. I click on it, and over here in the menu, it's not a required field. And I want to point that out because the way DocuSign works is similar to .loop, where it will jump from signature field to signature field to required field to required field. That means that when you send this seller's property disclosure to your seller and he or she hits start, it's going to jump straight to the signature field and bypass all this information for him to fill in, that he or she will have to scroll his or her mouse back up to fill it in. I just want to make sure that that is noted, so that way you can set those expectations with your clients ahead of time so they're not signing a blank document, because that's kind of what's been happening recently. So you can see everything here is mapped yellow. He'll be able to fill in, Tony will be able to fill everything in when he gets it. I'm going to add my name here again. So I'll select myself from the drop down, select name, put that there. Let's continue scrolling, make sure everything's good to go. I want to just do the thumbnails over here just to save time. We'll come to the last page. We'll see that Tony and Pepper are set up properly. I'm just going to adjust the signature field so it's on the line, and then we're good to go. Now, the community association disclosure is going to be the same where everything is mapped to seller number one. So for this example, it's going to be Tony. So everything is yellow. And again, these fields are not required. So DocuSign will just bypass them when they go to sign, and they'll need to stop and fill in the information. Scroll down. I'm going to add my name. Perfect. And then just keep on scrolling. Make sure everything is good to go. Update their initials just so it's on the line. And then we'll get to the marketing disclosure statement. Perfect. Set up to sign here. Wire fraud, set up to sign there. And now we'll get to our purchase and sale agreement. I'm going to add, let me update the initials. I don't know why all these are just a little bit off today. And then I'm going to add my name at the bottom of the purchase and sale right here. And then, and for time's sake, I'm just going to scroll through the thumbnails and get down here to the bottom. Double fix these. It is really lightning and thundering, so hopefully I don't get kicked off the internet again. And now we can see here for myself, for whatever reason, there wasn't a signature field added, so I'm just going to add a signature field for myself. So I make sure that I'm on purple, click signature, add that there to the line, and then click date signed and add that field here. Perfect. So before I send this to my clients, I can double check to see what their recipient preview is going to be. Up here in the top right-hand corner, click on recipient preview. All right, and that's going to load the preview, and I can change between myself or what it's going to look like for Tony to sign. So I'll click on Tony because I want to see what it's going to be like for him since he's seller number one. I can also see what it looks like on the computer, an iPad, or a phone. So you can see like if Tony's at work and he has to sign it on his phone, this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to click start to get started. And this is going to walk me through the same process. Nothing's going to be legitimate here. So I'll click start. You see it takes me straight to the signing field for the listing agreement. And I click sign, and it jumps past all of that information on the seller's property disclosure. So this is where you'd have to tell him to go back up to the top and fill everything in. And you'd see, based on his permissions, I can, type in here, select everything, boom, boom, boom. And once he's done, he can click next. I'll take him to the signing field. Same thing with community association disclosure. It just bypassed all of that. Sign, sign, initial, sign, initial. Perfect. So now here's where it would say finish. So now you have an idea of what it's going to be like for Tony to sign. So once you're done with that, click the X in the top right-hand corner, and that'll close the preview. And now we can click send. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my shared screen so I could show you my Safari window of what it'll be like to sign these documents. So let me stop share. Let me open up Safari. Let me come over to this tab. Zoom. Perfect. All right, so now you should be able to see my Safari window. So this is my email that I set up for KWFA Tech, and this is for Tony, and you can see he's received an email from me via DocuSign. Please DocuSign 4321 Main Street. Scroll down, you can see here's a big button that says review documents. And then here's the private message that says, please be sure to fill in all the information for the SPD and CAD. Please review and sign. Thank you, Nick. To get started, click review documents. And this will open up DocuSign. Just click allow, and then agree to the use of electronic records and signatures, and click continue. So now I'm signing, this is legitimately signing as seller number one, Tony Stark. So I click start. Like I said, it jumps me to that signature field. The first time they will have to adopt their signature, click sign. And you see it just jumped right past all that information for the seller's property disclosure. So I'm going to scroll back up to the seller's property disclosure. And now I'm just going to really quickly just type, show you how easy it is for the your seller to fill this in. Fill in text here, more text. Yes, yes. Type. I mean, it's super easy. They just have to click yes. You can see my name is automatically added there at the bottom of that field. And then just go through, click. Now, only seller one will be able to do this, but by having seller one sign first before Pepper as seller two, all this information will be filled in when it goes to Pepper to sign. So you get the idea of how to fill this in. So let's say I finished filling in the information for the seller's property disclosure. I'll click next. It'll take me to the signing field. It's going to do the same thing for the community association disclosure. So I'll just come back up here. Let's fill in some information here. HOA name, contact info for person. Just tab, your client can just tap through it. 404, 414, 238. So you can see it's super easy to add information. My name's been automatically added here. Click next. Once I'm done, take me to the initial field. Then I'll sign affiliated marketing, wire fraud, initial the offer, sign offer. Now, Tony is done signing. Up here in the top, there's a yellow button that says finish. Make sure to tell your clients to click that finish button. If they don't click the finish button, DocuSign will not register them as having completed the signing. So I'm going to click finish. It'll ask them to make an account, click no thanks. Perfect, all done. And it even says you'll receive a copy once everyone is signed. So I'm going to close this window, and then I'm going to come into my other email account for Pepper Potts. And you can see here's an email from Nicholas Corey via DocuSign. Please review and sign. And it doesn't have that private message there about filling in the SPD and CAD. So for Pepper to get started, she'll click review documents. Open up a new tab. It'll be the same thing, allow and agree, and then click continue. So I'll click start. It's going to jump me to the bottom of the listing agreement. Now, it just jumped me to the bottom of the seller's property disclosure, but I just want to scroll up so I can show you that since Tony was signer one, all the information that he filled in is here for Pepper to review. So this is the benefit of having a signing order. So that way, if you have seller one, if they want to write in the information and then have their spouse review it, make sure it's all good, this is how you do that. So click next, initial, sign, sign, initial, sign, sign, and then click finish. Perfect. Do not want to make an account, hit no thanks. All done. So let me stop sharing. Let me come back to this window. I'm going to open up my work account. So let me come over here, share my screen. All right. So now you can see here, I have an email that says from Nicholas Corey DocuSign, please DocuSign. Now I'll click Review Documents. And it'll be my turn to sign. Click Continue. Click Start. And jumps me all the way to the bottom of the listing agreement. And here, I made those text fields required. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this as 12 p.m. So it's 11:15, so I'll just make it binding as a 12 p.m. Then click Next, Sign, and Finish. So now we are all done. Click Continue. I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to go back into my DocuSign room. I'm going to click Refresh on the envelope page. And you'll see it shows as completed. And if you click on it, it'll show you that everyone has signed and their time as signature. So this is just a great way for you to double check to make sure it's been sent. And if you're still waiting on a document, this is where you would come to find out who you're waiting for to get signatures from. So I'll close this. Now I'm going to click on my Documents tab, and it will have all of the signed documents in the room. If you scroll down, you can see all these documents here with the green checkbox that says signed. That's how I know these are the signed versions. And like I mentioned earlier, everything defaults into the Room Docs folder. And now that I have the affiliated marketing disclosure, even though I added it in the envelope, it's now a signed document in my Documents tab. So I'm just going to quickly move that up. Community Association disclosure. I just move those back into the listing agreements folder. Seller's property disclosure. And this is listing agreement. Perfect. Oh, and I need to move wire fraud too. All right. So now I have all my listing agreements in the folder. You can see here we have the green check boxes are PDFs of signed documents. The blue icon here in the bottom right-hand corner of the thumbnail, that's the form. That is the DocuSign template. If you have to go back and make a change to anything, you can go back and edit the form version of it. It's not going to remove the signatures off of this, but you will have to resend for signature. Really quickly, before we jump back into Command, I want to show you a few things that will probably be really helpful. Let's say you want to send all these documents to your seller as an email, and that's your process, but you want to only send one document, you want to combine all these PDFs, you can do that directly in DocuSign. So to do that, roll your mouse over the document you want to select, click on the circle in the top left-hand corner for all the documents you want to send. So I want to send all of the signed documents. Perfect. And now when you select when you select a document, a toolbar appears in the top of the page. And when you select more than one, this icon of combine shows up. So if you click on this, I can now give all this combined document its own name. So 321 Main Street Listing Agreement, signed docs for a client. But you want them in a specific order. So to do that, click on the name of the document, just click on it, and then hold your mouse down and drag it up. So we want our listing agreement first, and then our property disclosure, then our community association, and then affiliated marketing and wire fraud, and then click save. Da-da-da-da. The page will reload, and this document has been added, and like everything else, it defaults into the Room Doc, so I can just move this up here to my folder, and then I will click on this, and you can see I now have a PDF of 20 pages of all the signed documents here that I can send for my client. When you're in the document, up here, there is this dog-eared icon called Document Actions. You can click on this. You can rename this document. And another great thing to know about is splitting a document. So let's say you received a document, an offer from the buyer's agent, and he or she combined all of those documents and all the offer documents into one PDF. You can upload that PDF into DocuSign, open it up and click split. So you just click on split here, and it's going to load every single page of that PDF and give you the opportunity, the ability to kind of do a zoom. So just roll your mouse over it and it'll be like, oh, so you can see, okay, zoom here. This is the exclusive listing agreement. So when you want to split up the documents, you'd come over here to the left-hand side and I'll say, I want pages 1 through 8, and it'll highlight them so it lets you know which pages. And I'll name this signed listing agreement. And then we want to add another document. So I'll click add a document and I'll do pages 9. So this is seller's property disclosure through 15. Signed SPD. And then we'll want to do the next one. So it'll be page 16 through 18. Signed CAD. And then we'll add another document. So we'll do page 19. And this is signed affiliated marketing disclosure. And then we'll add another one, page 20, signed wire fraud prevention disclosure. Perfect. So once you've gone through, you've selected all the pages that you want for your individual separate documents. Click save on the top right-hand corner. DocuSign will reload. If you scroll down to the room docs, you will see I now have my documents that I have separated. You can tell because this is a signed AMD, signed CAD, signed listing agreement. So that's how you split a document. You will notice that these documents are in order alphabetically. If you want to reorder them, you come up here to where it says name A to Z, and you can select by name, the date that it was added, or the owner. I know for many that may not work well with your system of how you like things ordered. So what you can do is I could come over here and I can click on the signed exclusive seller listing agreement, click on signed, click on document actions, and I can rename it, click on rename, and then I can type a 1 in the front of it and hit save, and then close. And now you'll see it'll have my signed listing agreement in the first position. Unfortunately, in DocuSign, you cannot manually reorder them. So that's going to be your workaround if you want to have your documents in a certain way. I labeled this 1, you go through and do 2, 3, 4, and that way they would all be in that correct order there. So now that we have all of our signed documents, let's go back into Command, and I'm going to show you how to add them, and hopefully it works because it didn't yesterday.
I have a question.
Yes.
Go there. Let's say, for instance, that I go to my listing appointment and I meet up with my sellers. They want to take their time. I bring all my disclosures and information, paperwork. And they want to, because they're not very, savvy technologically, and they want to actually take their time. What do I do if they scan the information through my email? How do I download that information into DocuSign?
Great question, Maria. So what you would do is you would download that PDF in your inbox, from your inbox to your computer. Then you'd come over here to add, click add, and then select computer. And then you could add a document. Let me just try to select a PDF. Do I have any PDFs anywhere? I thought I had saved. Here, let me just try downloads. So I can just, I don't want to do that. That's like real information on it. Okay, I'll just upload this quick document from a co-op agent, click open. And scroll down. And then you can see here, it's been added as a PDF. Click on it. And then here's your document. And that's how you add it to your document room from your computer. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. All right, so now we have all of our signed documents, but now we need to send everything over to Lynn and Alita for review and compliance approval. To do that, click back into Command. We are going to come here to where it has all these documents listed, and there's multiple ways that you can attach these documents. The first way is if you want to do it one by one. Over here on the right-hand side, you can click Add a File. So click Add a File. And then for the source of documents, select DocuSign. Now, fingers crossed this works because it didn't yesterday. Perfect, it does work. So you'll see here, it's going to show all the documents that you have in your room, and it does break it up by folder. So root folder will be the room docs folder. So this is the listing agreement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to select from the listing agreements folder, the way I organized it, one, exclusive seller listing agreement signed, and click Assigned. Perfect. But I have a lot of documents I need to add, and I don't want to do this one by one. So you can attach multiple files. So I click Attach Multiple Files. For the source, select DocuSign, and then just come to each of the documents you want to add. So Community Association, select the drop-down menu, and then you'll scroll through, and you can select the signed Community Association disclosure. That's the one that I added, or I separated, but I can come over here and select Community Association disclosure signed. Now you'll see it's in here twice because you want to make sure you select the one that says dash signed, because that's going to be the correct one. Same thing for the seller's property disclosure. Let me scroll down here. Come down here. Seller's property disclosure, signed. Rawls Group affiliated marketing disclosure. Affiliated marketing signed, and then wire fraud prevention. Scroll down here.
Nick,
Yeah.
I'm confused because why couldn't you select the ones that say signed marketing disclosure? They were signed, right?
Yeah, so you could. I was just showing that because the way DocuSign names things, that you more than likely won't be going through and re-editing the names of them like I did.
Okay.
So that's the only reason why I'm
Okay.
trying to select these ones.
And we're not really seeing after the dash, but you're saying after the dash it says signed, and that's the ones you're selecting.
So see here for seller's property disclosure, it says statement exhibit F.
Oh, the next page it goes on. I see. Okay, got it. The next line wasn't going on to the next line in my mind. Okay.
Perfect. So let me just come up. I'll just add the signed wire fraud prevention document and then click attach. Perfect. So now you had all your listing agreements attached. If you want to add your purchase and sale, once you go under contract, you go to the under contract folder, and you would do the same thing here with attach a file. Now for listed, everyone knows with listings, as soon as you get the signed listing agreement, you send to Lynn and Alita for review. Click on the submit to MC, and this will submit this to the market center, and Lynn and Alita will be notified that they have a new document or new folder opportunity to review for compliance. And they'll go through, review, add any notes, let you know of any changes here. One thing while we're in Command I want to show you, let's say you're the listing agent, you go under contract, you submit all your documents, you're great, perfect. Then it's day 9 of due diligence and your buyer terminates. Well, you don't want to recreate a whole new opportunity and have to reattach your listing and make it seem like you need to resubmit to compliance. What you can do is in the under contract folder where it says under contract right here, click this drop down arrow and you can create a new version. So you could rename this version 2, or you could say, new buyer, and then put a date, 6/5/2020, whatever you want it to do, and then create a new version. And now it would blank out all the fields here so you can re-upload the documents for review for that contract. And then if you needed to, you could switch back to that old version if you needed to, the under contract version. So you can switch back and forth. So I just wanted to show you that because that's been a question of people not wanting to delete an entire opportunity. One thing I also want to point out on our call, let me switch back over to DocuSign real fast, especially since Alita is on here. Let's say you have a listing that you have to withdraw or you have to terminate, and you need to get Alita's signature on something. The easiest way to do that is to send that to her directly from DocuSign. Because if you send it to her as an email PDF, she then has to go into her DocuSign, sign it, send it to herself, and then send it back to you. And then you have to upload it into your room and then command. So if you send it directly through your DocuSign, she'll sign it, she'll receive a copy of it, the signed document will already be in your room, and then you can easily attach it to your opportunity. So to do that, go to your envelopes folder and then select new. And this, I'll select new again. All right, DocuSign, perfect. So name, I'm gonna try to breeze through this pretty quickly, but we'll do termination. And then we'll add our document, and from here we can select upload. So I can select a document directly from my computer. So I'm just going to use this one from the EXP agent. So I'll just click open, and that will attach the document here. Now we'll need to add recipients. And since I don't have Alita in my room, I would select email address. And I'll type in Alita Baverman, and this email address is kwfabroker@gmail.com. Now, if I needed to sign it too, I could add myself here and click add recipient, and I could select room participants for this because I'm already in the room. So I could select myself and hit add selected, email, please DocuSign, 4321 Main Street Southeast termination. Perfect. So now I'll go to next. And here's where I'll add those signatures. So I'll just come here to the bottom of the second page, and we'll pretend that this, the first one you can see here is for Alita. So I would add click a signature for Alita, put that here, add her name, click that here, and then date signed, put that here. But then I need to also add signatures for myself, so then I would select myself from the dropdown and do the exact same. Name, right here, date signed, boom. So now when I hit send, this is going to send this directly to Alita's broker email, and she can sign it how I just showed you, and then everyone has copies of it. So that's going to be the best way to send those documents that need Lynn and Alita's signature directly from your DocuSign. I don't want to send this because I don't want to get confusing in Alita's inbox. So I'm just going to click go back, and it will save this as I'll click save and close, and it will save this as a draft right here. So if tomorrow I needed to send it, I could just go through and hit send. So we're at 11:30, so we're at the end of our time this morning. We've talked through everything with DocuSign, from the opportunity, confirming our NRDS ID, updating details, adding documents, sending them for signature, uploading them to command, as well as sending things to Alita for signature. What questions do you have? What do you want to see again before we jump off today that can be helpful? Feel free, you can chat your questions or you can unmute yourself. I want to make sure that you guys walk away from this feeling much more comfortable and confident using DocuSign. What is the optimal way to share with the other side of the transaction? So that's a great question, Mark. So thank you for asking. That's going to be kind of personal preference. My recommendation as an agent would be to download all of your documents. So let's say if I wanted to send over, where is my listing agreement? So here, I've combined all these documents here and I want to download them. I would recommend that you download them onto your computer and then email that directly from Gmail. DocuSign does have the capability to send an email directly from DocuSign. So you can click here, you can type in, you know, co-op agent's email, co-op agent at gmail.com, and then you can put a quick message for 4321 Main Street Southeast, Nick, and you can send that to them. Now, the issue with sending the email directly from DocuSign is that unlike .loop, is DocuSign does not attach the documents as a PDF to the email. So your co-op agent has to click the review document or view documents tab from the email to then open a new web browser and then download. So it really comes as what your preference is going to be. I would make things as simple as possible for your co-op agent and just attach it to an email so they don't have to click on anything. Less room for error, less likely to miss documents. Any other questions this morning? And if you don't have any now, that's fine. I am doing office hours this afternoon from 1 to 3. So as you guys are playing around in DocuSign today and you have questions, join me. You can log on and off for those 2 hours and I'll make sure I answer any of your questions and we can troubleshoot any questions or issues that you're having. And then I'm gonna have office hours every day next week, every day from 1 to 3. So I'm gonna make sure that you guys are comfortable and using DocuSign well. I promise that once you start to play around in DocuSign, you will love DocuSign much, much more than .loop. I promise. So have a great rest of your day. Today is the day that we get rid of .loop. So make sure you're prepared that come tomorrow when you're out showing properties, you are ready in DocuSign to submit those offers. Let me know what questions you guys have. Feel free, office hours, call, text me, anything you need. I'm here to help. So have a great rest of your day and I will talk to you soon.